Now, something that I'd like to raise today, miss me with that, and I want to start this from our Constitution. Article 27 of our Constitution says every person is equal before the law and has a right to equal protection and equal benefit of the law. Also says equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and fundamental freedoms. Women and men have the right to equal treatment, including the right to equal opportunities in political, economic, cultural, and social spheres. The state shall not discriminate directly or indirectly against any person on any ground, including race, sex, pregnancy, marital status, health status, ethnic or social origin, color, age, disability, religion, conscience, belief, culture, dress, language, or birth. You cannot be discriminated directly or indirectly against for any of those. Okay? Jumping quickly to Article 27(8). 6. To give full effect to the realization of the rights guaranteed under this article, the state shall take legislative and other measures, including affirmative action programs and policies designed to redress any disadvantage suffered by individuals or groups because of past discrimination. Any measures taken under Clause 6 shall adequately provide for any benefit to be on the basis of genuine need. And in addition to all those, the state shall take legislative and other measures to implement the principle. And this is what the principle says. Not more than 2/3 of the members of elective or appointive bodies shall be of the same gender. This is the principle. It's not the 1/3 gender rule. It is the not more than 2/3 gender principle. Not more than 2/3 of members of elective or appointive bodies shall be of the same gender. Now, let's look at our population and how it is. Our last official census was in 2019, and in that census, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, if we just ignore the politics and the court case against the census results for those 3 counties in Northeastern Province, our population was 47,562,800 people. Of those, the men were 23,548,100, and the women 24,014,700. Basically, we had more men. We have more men than women, more women than men in this country. Women are 50.49% of our population. Okay. The latest data by KNBS is an estimation of what, because they've not done the census, but it says that currently, by mid-2024, the estimated population of Kenya was 52,428,290. And out of that, if we just say, go with the same, that women are 50.49%, then you'd have about 26,471,443 women. We have more women than men. We just go by the census of 2019.
Right.
Now, what really got me is when we were discussing last week in the news, and the IEBC interviews are ongoing currently. And on those IEBC interviews, they advertise for positions for people to come and apply. For position of chairperson or position of commissioner. Now, the IEBC selection panel got the following number of people. And I want to start with a previous one, not the current IEBC 2025. But yeah, let's start with the current IEBC 2025, all right? The graphics on the screen are for a previous number of applicants for the 2021 one. But the current one in 2025 is that we had 37 total applicants for the position of chairperson. Of those, 6 were women. That's 16.22%. Now, bear in mind that we have a majority of women in the country. Out of 37 people who applied to be chairperson of IEBC, 16% were women. For commissioner position, 1,333 total applicants, 237 of them are women, 17.77%. Okay? I'll look at other figures as we continue. But just based on this, that in a country that has a majority of women being in our population,
right?
In a country that has laws that says that even say a principle in the Constitution that says we shall ensure there is gender equality, in a country that then says for this position of chairperson, the only thing that qualifies you is not your gender, but your other qualification. You're a Kenyan, you're above 18, you meet the other basic qualifications. Only 6 women applied to be the chairperson of IEBC out of 37 applicants. Out of 1,333 applicants, only 237 women applied for this. I've heard the argument being put out before on the elective positions. That, you know what, it's so hard for women to actually get into the elective races because it's expensive, number one. Number two, it's because of the patriarchal nature of our society that then ends up treating women differently in the campaign trail, on the campaign trail, and how women are treated. And so in very many ways, there is merit in saying, okay, we need to clean up that system of elective positions. But these are appointive, where even the selection panel will not ask you questions based on your gender. You will not face those things of insults based on your gender. So why then are we seeing that fewer women, not fewer, very few women are putting themselves forth for positions of leadership in a country that they are a majority in a country that has laws that make sure that they shall get equal and fair treatment according to our constitution? And I say, if you bring me the argument of, you know what, it's a patriarchal society, or you know what, we've been disenfranchised for long, in this particular one, of appointive positions, absolutely miss me with that.
Usually we do the...
I know,
yes.
Do it, Buana.
Like, to your argument, honestly, I am objective enough to say it's a fair question. It's a fair question, Eric. You've caught me off guard because I knew you were doing this, miss me that, and I knew you were doing it on this. And my comeback was immediately going to be the fact that when in elective positions, we've seen an increase steadily over time for women, of women candidates getting into elective positions and of women rep seats translating into more female governors, all of that, and party nominations all the way down from there over time. And then to extrapolate that with now the IEBC, have the numbers been on the steady rise? Nothing near the 1/3 gender rule, but on a steady increase. Now, you've already you said, you know what, elective positions outside. My only question would be, compared to the previous, you used the 2025 election, IBC selection panel
interviews,
data,
yes.
Compared to the previous ones, have we seen an increase in the number of women that applied for those positions?
I'll answer that question.
It's like, I'm coming for you because najua utaanza kusema. No, I want to validate the argument because I think what Eric is asking is what a lot of people want to say. But I always want us to consider barriers and biases when it comes to women and applying for certain roles. The barriers and biases shouldn't be underscored with regards to why somebody, even though it's appointive, I think sometimes they're already thinking about, say I get this role, how much of a shift will I have to make in my life? Women not applying or participating isn't because they don't understand that the Constitution has made room for it and that we've come a long way. But barriers remain and biases remain. Biases around the perception of women in leadership. Barriers even around, I guess, just bypassing how you perceive me as a woman. And I don't want us to be underscoring these things because the same way we underscore mental issues and all of this, I think it ends up mushrooming into something big and ugly because we undervalued it. Right. People hear patriarchy, they're like, Wenda Uko. She's already started with that word. But the barriers and the structures cannot be, they can't be undermined in how a woman wants to show up. A woman might want to show up and apply for this seat, but the number of things that she has to process in her head. First of all, right now, I'm not surprised very few women applied. First of all, it's bad for men and women right now. Anything to do with things in Kenya is murky waters for everyone because people are seeing a lot of the ugly fighting, people being publicly humiliated, whatever it is. So it's bad for men and women. But I think for women, there's so many studies, and I'll speak to some numbers later, where if I'm going to apply for a certain leadership role, I know already those who've gone before me have told me certain things that are almost guaranteed. Number one, harassment will be guaranteed. Boom. Number two, seeking of sexual favors to then be appointed. I think that sounds semi-foreign. It sounded like something that happened a lot in the 90s. It's still massive today, to a point where you have to say to yourself, if I truly want this position, then I know what I'm going to be faced with. And then I have to ask myself if I'm going to give in. Many do. Many give in and say, hey, if it means I'm going to get something that's going to play into my salary, whether I'm single or married, at least I know I'm making money, I'm going to give into the sexual favors. Others say no, then they're told, maybe better luck next time. Right. Biases and barriers can never be underscored when it comes to why or why not women seek out certain political seats or any leadership roles, even corporates. It's across the board. So I get where you're coming from in terms of, but the positions are here. We say it apply. We've given you guys equal merit and opportunity to apply. You talk about wanting representation, you're not applying. Barriers and biases.
So those barriers and biases, I want to come up and say, okay, let me start from this. I'm a son of a single mother, brought up by a woman. I am married, I have a daughter. I have nieces, I have sisters-in-law, I have got cousins, and I look at all of them and I see they are able, and they're strong, they're opinionated, they go all out. I am doing this because I'm speaking to my daughter. I do not want my daughter to hear this thing of their biases and all. I've brought up my daughter to live and feel that she's equal. She's equal wherever she is. She's equal in whatever she can push herself. She can challenge herself. What do you want to do? You want to do architecture? Go ahead, do architecture. What do you want to apply for in life? Go ahead and do it. And this is so that she can reap the fruits of the women who went ahead of her, who pushed hard, who ensured that this principle is in the Constitution. It is mostly women who are loud and vocal about it. We know them. Kina Martha Karua, Martha Koome, right? We know them and how they pushed and how they were agitating for it. It's here. I start with, even those that were agitating for it would still participate in this other excuse. And I'm like,
it's not an excuse, though, it's a fact.
And I call it an excuse.
No, it's
a
fact.
I'm gonna,
so
you can call it a fact. I'm gonna bring it like this way.
Okay.
This is it. Let's look at the IEBC of, in 2021, there were 4 vacancies in the IEBC position, okay? It was advertised. The chair of the selection panel then was Elizabeth Muli, and she told us that there were 660 applicants. They shortlisted 36. There were some notable women here. Kina Dr. Koki Muli, who's now in the current selection panel. Rosalina Dede, who was until recently the chair of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. She passed on earlier this year. Former chair Kagweri Mbogori of the same Commission on Human Rights. Former chair Florence Ambiri Jaoko, who was also in the Commission on Human Rights. Harriet Chigai, who is now presidential advisor, she was a vice chairperson of the Law Society of Kenya. Celestine Kiuluku, who was working at the IEBC as the director of HR. Dr. Catherine Kamindo, who was working at the IEBC as a director for research and boundaries. We had Naisia Tobiko, who was a former manager of commission services at the IEBC. You know all of those? Plus others, Kina Juliana Cherera, Kina Irene Masit. So Juliana Cherera and Irene Masit and Justice Zangaya and Francis Wanderi are the ones who were picked for the position. You seeing the number? Okay, let me show you. In 2021, when Chief Justice Emeritus Dr. Willie Mutunga retired, there were elections and there were applications for the position of Chief Justice in 2021. There were 13 applicants, okay? 3 were women.
Right.
3. Martha Koome, Aliciano, Professor Kamerembo. It is 2021, no, it's after David Maraga retired. Okay? In 2016, when Chief Justice Mutunga retired, there were 14 applicants for the position of Chief Justice. Out of the 14 applicants for position of Chief Justice, there were only 2 women. Rosalind Nambuye, Justice Rosalind Nambuye, and lawyer Lucy Wanja. Okay? Also, at the same time, there were interviews for Deputy Chief Justice. In the Deputy Chief Justice position, there were 15 applicants and 13 were shortlisted. All of them were women. We had people like Philomena Mwilu and others who applied. Philomena Mwilu got the job of Deputy Chief Justice. All these 13 women who had applied for position of Deputy Chief Justice qualify for position of Chief Justice. But they didn't apply for position of Chief Justice.
Right. Eric, I want to go back to my question.
Tell me now why. And these are not at a small time. These are not new to the race. These are women who have
qualified
been
to be
through,
CJ.
and they have been through the trenches to make sure that this is a principle in our Constitution. So the women who are fighting to make sure it's a principle in our Constitution, right? apply for Deputy Chief Justice.
Right.
And not for Chief Justice.
Ah,
And
yeah.
it was the same thing when Willy Mutunga was being...
Yeah.
I have so many, like there's so many thoughts, but let me try and arrange them so that they're in order. One, that one, you can already tell exactly what went through their heads. It was, the odds are the Chief Justice is going to be a guy. My best bet is to apply for Deputy CJ.
Yeah.
Problematic, yes, but that was the thought process. You can, without, no one, don't have to be a genius
Explain
to
to
be
me,
able
based on what?
based empirical data.
What
That
empirical
your
data?
your chief justices up to that point had been men.
Okay.
Yes.
But these are women who are senior lawyers
Yes.
and judges.
Yes, and
Some
qualified.
judges in the Court of Appeal, judges in the High Court.
Yes.
Okay.
I said it's problematic.
Why
But
would-
it's
but
what it is.
that's
why
probably
would
what it
they-
is.
Why would they be thinking that I'm not good enough to be a Chief Justice?
They didn't say. I didn't say they thought they weren't good
They didn't
enough.
apply.
I didn't say
Just because they did not
thought-
apply for Chief Justice and
No,
applied
no,
for
no.
Deputy Chief Justice is basically telling us, I don't think I'm good enough to
I've
be Chief
said
Justice.
I can see the thought process there was my best bet of leaving here with something is to apply for Deputy CJ because empirically CJ has been a man.
Yep.
So I'm going to go for that. Then I'm qualified for both. 100%. I know I'm capable of doing both. 100%. Empirically, what does history tell me? CJs have been men. It's problematic, but I can tell that that was the thought process. Back to now your other arguments. You're absolutely right about the numbers. The fact that only that many women applied to be chairperson, applied to be commissioner of the IEBC, is worrying, given that I'm sure there's no shortage of women who are qualified for the job. There's no shortage for women who saw the advert, if it's an information thing, right? But we conflate some things, which is we have done, like we've made great strides in closing the education gap. We really have. We're getting to a point where university graduates are leaning more female than male, which is still, you know, you don't want it skewed, you want it to be equitable, but still, the education gap, we've worked really hard to close it. It's not perfect, but we have done it. But as you go up the ladder, that gap, again, the gender gap continues to widen. That's why at top positions, you will still find that it's still more male than female. And it's C-suite and above, for example. So 24% of board seats in Kenya are occupied by women, as opposed to, that's now 76% that are occupied by men. That's board representation. C-suite positions, 11% of C-suite roles in Kenya occupied by women, slightly below the global average of 12. That's a global average. Talking about CEOs, MDs, etc., 32% of CEOs and MD positions are held by women, while men occupy 67% of those roles. As you go up the ladder, the women fall off. Unfortunately, it's a lot of factors. It could be the fact that you have gender pay gaps, or that you're finding at the top there's still men. So for women to rise, it's taking a little bit longer, or it takes a little bit more work. Again, this is not universal, and there's a lot of women doing great things, but don't take them as the only truth. There's also still women struggling to get into those rooms. So now to your IEBC conundrum, it's the same thinking of, I see this job, I am qualified for it, but do I apply for it? No. Because I'm still thinking in that sense of, it's probably a guy's club. Or I don't want to be in the muck. Like Janet's point is very true as well. I don't want that murkiness. I don't want that mess in my life. If this was something else, I would have loved to see the applicants for... those things don't have competitive recruitments like this, but I'm trying to see how many women apply for other top-level jobs as compared to how many make it into now C-suite, into, things like that.
I like the points Mariam has raised. I know we're going into a break, both of you, Latiff and Mariam, but you've like summarized Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg, because she did talk about, she did an entire book, because she's like, wait, why am I one of the few people at my level who's a woman? And she went all the way back to what she saw in university, and that's in the US, and it's very similar to you. She said, as we went higher, we all started as equal men and women, year one. By year 4, or by the time people were now out of uni, starting families, it completely drastically dropped. So that's why I'm saying it's something that can't be undermined, because as a woman, if I'm thinking about the fact that maybe, let's use the example of a family, and I love that we're in a time when people are free to make choices, childless, whatever it is, but let's take a traditional setup. I know that I'm going to have to choose one, not just because inherently I can't be shameless enough and be like, I'm going to be that mom who works through the night and figures out who's going to look after my child, but also because of what's been thrown at me. There's a company in Kenya that was able to shift some of the working hours and things around maternity and all. And so a huge productivity rise with women. My friend worked in them. And she said, this guy got it. He was like, I know what's holding a lot of you back. It's that thing where you've been told, you're going to start a family. You come back, your job has gone while you're on maternity leave. These are things that happen. So you say, then maybe I shouldn't have a family. Or if I know that if I do, then my chances of getting to CEO level, I might fall 7 years behind because now I'm raising maybe 3 kids under 2. These are real things. So he came in and I think he did a study and said, okay, I know this is global. Tell us what we can do. He introduced a creche on one of the floors of the office. He's like, it's coming with your children, that is sour. We've brought nurses and minders. Come with your baby if you feel like the support is bad. Lactation rooms were introduced. Maternity leave. Whereas it's traditionally 3 months, he's like, no, I'm going to give you guys 2 extra months. And then when you come back, you'll work on flexi time. And this is the person I know is a senior manager. This is somebody who worked really closely with the person at the highest level. That is an example of what it means when somebody says you have to, in a sense, shift the institutions because we cannot deny that women are balancing multiple roles. So how do we meet them halfway so that they don't say, I can't apply? They're able to say, you know what, I have more confidence to apply because I know if it's a question of safety, family, because safety-wise also, he included elements around CCTV, parking basements where they would park. Like he really thought 360. He did that. That is the kind of thing that needs to be replicated because as long as I don't know how I'm going to balance work and life, my security, my income, then I won't apply.
We'll just fall off.
Yeah.
I completely agree, all right? And yes, the statistics that you're giving us about women in C-suite, women in boards is a big issue. And I'll ask whether you are in the women on boards and whether you've been appointed to any board. But yes, completely agree. But you know, where we show and set the example is in the public sector where there's a law and a structured way of doing things.
In paper.
And if those people who have fought for it do not go ahead to actualize it, I have a big problem with that because those people are sending a wrong message to my daughter. And I do not want those people to be the example to my daughter and coming and say, but you see, but no, absolutely no way. Let's take a break. We'll be back.
That's fair though.
Yeah, so we are back to what the conversation that we're having, fixing this nation, fixing our narratives, fixing our mindsets as well. That, and I want to take a step back. You've been telling us and reminding us, Janet, very appropriately, that Beijing is turning 30.
30, right, yeah.
What does that mean, Beijing turning 30?
In 1995, there was a conference, the first of its kind that was specifically on gender issues. It was the first of its kind globally, and it brought people from around the world. And at that time, again, women were seeing barriers and biases that were holding women back from either rising in leadership or even issues around gender-based violence. So they made the Beijing Declaration to say we are going to implement the following, and we want to make sure that no woman is left behind. So that's what happened in 95 in Beijing. We even had a delegation from Kenya.
Oh, yes.
It now turns...
And it was led by Kenya's first woman minister, Niva Mwendwa.
Yes.
Right? So Kenya was now making a big stride by having the first woman minister in the name of Niva Mwendwa. When they came back, they took up this issue, the issue of highlighting the matters of gender and gender equality and amplifying them. When Yashpal Gai was working on his constitution with his fellow commissioners, those women took petitions there and they said, let's make sure that the gender issue is inserted here. When the Bomas talks were happening, let's make sure that this is inserted here. When Amos Wako went to the coast to do his draft constitution, which went into the referendum in 2005, gender was in there. When we had the committee of experts, among them Joaquin Dongo, who's now a Supreme Court judge, were working on this constitution, gender was inserted, and that's why it's a principle in our constitution. And that says that not more than 2/3 of one gender shall occupy positions of elective or appointive. Elective, I want to put it aside, that's a work that we have to do, okay? Appointive, especially in government, we have laws in place that make sure that you shall not be discriminated against based on this. As long as you qualify, apply.
Right.
We are not having an argument today that a majority of people who have qualified, have applied, have been left out during the shortlisting. We're having a conversation here where we are saying that a very, very clearly large minority of women who are the majority in the population of Kenya, are applying for these positions. And positions that require you just to show your professionalism. IEBC is one. Chief Justice is another. Deputy Chief Justice is another. When CJ Mutunga was interviewed and picked up as the first Chief Justice under this constitution, the selection panel then, the JSC, had to actually re-advertise for these positions.
Right.
Because we had few women who had applied for the position of Chief Justice then. And the majority of the women were going for the position of Deputy Chief Justice.
Did they seek out why? Did they do a study, feasibility study?
I don't know whether they did. One of the people that we should ask maybe is the person who's now heading that task force on GBV, Dr. Nancy Baraza, who was among the applicants for position of Deputy Chief Justice, and she got it. But the selection panel said we have to talk to these ones who have applied for DCJ and tell them, come on guys, you also qualify for this other one. Here is my issue though. Dr. Nancy Baraza is among the women that we're talking about who in that decade of the 2000s was pushing for inclusion of this. These are the women who championed and said, we must make sure. And they also made sure that it does not say that the Chief Justice shall be male. They knew that everybody qualifies for Chief Justice gender-wise irregardless. But they applied for the DCJ. Okay? We saw it again in the next round. We saw it again in this last round where Martha Koome was picked. And when Martha Koome was picked, well, hey, yes, yes, we have a woman Chief Justice. And we have a woman and Chief Justice and a woman Deputy Chief Justice in this country. Yes! How many had applied for that? They're ululating. How many have not applied for this job of IEBC and they're there saying, look at Namibia. Look at how, you know, look at the balance in gender. Look at those people are putting themselves out there. Why are our women who are qualified, who are strong, not putting themselves out there for these appointive positions?
If you're watching and listening, maybe tell us why. As a woman, you're listening to this and you're saying, I thought about it, but then I realized ... I think we can throw it out there. You know, before the break, Eric, you talked about your daughter and not wanting to have an amplified message of biases and barriers, which is fair. It's just a reality that's important to note. I think about it and I said I'll reflect very quickly on my own, I guess, lens, even though it's a privileged one. But yeah, I mean, starting media relatively young in a male-dominated newsroom, and then just all the different things that I thought, having a child. And then the funny thing is, in my world, the world was your oyster, right? Growing up, all that folks said was work hard, pay your dues. Nobody is going to give you anything for free, etc. So I followed that. And then the world showed up and I said, oh, this happens. You get shamed for being pregnant on TV. Horribly shamed, because you're being told you're not supposed to be doing what you're doing. When you're carrying a child, you're supposed to be at home. I was like, in which world? And then having to navigate so many barriers that I didn't know existed until you realize my story is a minority story. I think it's a select few than a majority. Yes, I'm grateful, but I also recognize, and because of that, I think as a result is when I say, then I'm just going to keep going, because I don't want to relent under the pressure that continues to come at me. Because it never stops. You go to certain places and there's still oh, you're quite young. Oh, you're the woman who's doing this. Oh, so there's a lot of that comes. Some of it is microaggressions, some of it is outright, but you're questioned. You're even questioned on how did you get there? You must have bought your way. You must have slept your way. Surely there's no way you could have. And so on and so forth. Then you start a family, that doesn't necessarily work out. And suddenly again, you have another societal shift of, oh, something in you is broken because this couldn't happen. So society, in a sense, wants to almost reduce you to your wrongdoings as opposed to the fact that you've broken certain barriers.
True.
The reason I don't want to undermine, and I was even saying, Mariam being on this set, this is what makes me happy. I'm just like, yes, we need Mariams and more like her, because I know what it means when people are watching her. I know what it means when people are watching me. But we cannot underscore that I believe we are in the minority. Many women, remember, a lot of the issues that we've talked about, from teen pregnancy to FGM to child marriage, it always seems so alien, but a majority of our counties are still practicing these quote-unquote cultural issues that are then scaling back their ability to perform and complete school.
You know,
I've not finished. Ulikuwa umejam before the break. Pumua.
I thought it was a full stop.
It was a comma. Bana. I'll finish my comma because I know we all...
still in the paragraph.
I know.
Okay.
It was a colon.
Okay.
And so it's about recognizing that women might want to. In fact, they absolutely want to. We have some of the smartest women in the world. Kenya is some of the smartest men and women in this world. I say it everywhere I go. Every time I'm in my country, I'm just like, our country has extremely smart and capable people. But if you want to look beyond how you live, beyond the fact that maybe you have a family, beyond the fact that maybe you're victim to something and you're still trying to heal from it, then it does actually hold you back. Also knowing that those institutions, have they really factored in the fact that I'm not going to be able to do certain things until a time? Maybe I need to be home because guess what? Work-life balance is something we've been screaming for, which, as I mentioned, this one person has done in his organization that needs to be replicated. If today you made it possible for me, if you guaranteed that the systems and institutions are going to factor in that you might, number one, want to start a family, number two, you have started a family, you've chosen not to have a family, but you factored all that in,
right?
All the companies that included all the things I've talked about, like lactation rooms and all.
Let me just
wait, and then I'm about to get to this.
Because you're conflating issues, Janet.
No, I'm not.
You are conflating.
How?
You are conflating. And this is where now this excuse starts. We start going back into, you see, the girl child, just conflating issues. I am specific here on appointive positions in government, which are structured and they're shielded by law. And
they remain in institutions.
And the importance that they play.
Yes.
The important role that they play in debunking everything that you've been talking about for the last 2 minutes.
So
it is debunked by this thing.
But it's on paper, not the institution. The institution is the same.
It doesn't exist in a vacuum.
Yes.
Such that if I'm going to the IEBC, I will exist outside of everything else.
The women I'm calling out, I'm calling out are the senior women in this country who qualified to be chairman of IEBC.
And they did not apply.
Those I'm calling out are those that qualified in 2016 to be Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. And we only had 2 applying.
Eric understood.
Or in 2021, where we had 13 applicants, and there were very many women, senior lawyers, who some of them are in the law society, in private practice, in academia, in the judiciary itself, and they did not apply to be Chief Justice.
Eric
and
understood.
then I am only dealing with that category.
That category of senior women.
That category, because that category,
capable, who has
qualified,
is the one that pushed for this law to be this way. Is the one that is pushing our society to start thinking different. Is the one that is the role model for Janet. And so the work that Janet has been doing in the last 10 years, a decade, championing the girl child, is because of the steps that have been taken ahead by the others, right? But those that are ahead of Janet are not taking up the excuse, taking up the job, the role, and then passing on an excuse that comes on to below. I do not want that excuse to get to Latifa. That she shall not apply for a job that she qualifies for because you see culturally biased.
Okay, let Mariam step in.
100% agree with you that it is problematic.
Yes.
That women were qualified, plenty of them. And like I said, even at the beginning, there is no shortage of qualified women capable of doing these jobs. 110% agree with you. And of course, what that message sends out is not a good thing as well. But to Janet's point, this doesn't exist in a vacuum. The IEBC does not exist in a vacuum. Because there is a 2/3 gender principle, there is a constitution, there is an elective, a criteria, etc., doesn't guarantee that everything else he's talked about wouldn't happen or wouldn't be a factor that plays into
I wish we were saying that.
Your recruitment.
I wish we were saying that with a case study of saying that this is a position where we had 50-50 gender in applications. Then we see the system, the structure coming in to disenfranchise the women.
So let me push back at that a little.
We are just saying.
Let me say why you won't get 50-50 applications. Why you won't get 50-50 applications is at that level, genuinely, you're not going to get, because we've just gone through the numbers. The higher you climb, the less women you find. That's just unfortunate. It's good that for Deputy Chief Justice, there was like 8 out of how many? 13 out of 12. I mean, 12 out of 30.
Out of
no,
13.
Deputy Chief Justice.
13.
Yes. It's fantastic that for that role, that many women applied and they were qualified. But we've already gone through the numbers. As you go higher, women keep dropping off. And she's spoken to why that happens. And we need to interrogate that and fix it.
Yes.
I
But
agree.
the
And
institution.
that's the reason. By the way, hold on. That's the reason for my argument. One of the ways in which we are going to break that structure downwards is by those at the top then going up. Okay? We cannot address that when we still have those positions that are clear a woman qualifies, a woman would get, and then the women are not applying. We will not be able to come back and start breaking these other ones downwards because we have no example. Now we have an example of a Chief Justice who is a woman.
Yes.
And all of us agreed when she was named as the winning candidate, we're like, yes, way to go. We have been celebrating because we have 7 governors this time out of 3 governors in the last election. We are celebrating because the number of women that were elected this time out of the number of women
And it's coming more and more.
Okay?
Explanation,
It's a
not
more and
excuse.
more.
Yes.
It's a more and more.
Explanation, not excuse.
But those who qualify cannot at all use an excuse
No.
of bias.
You can't say that, but
There is
Mariam,
no,
go ahead.
There is no qualified. What are the
Abu, wait,
qualifications?
Mariam,
I'm
ongea
not-
jamani.
I'm just saying-
Qualification.
I am
for-
explaining
Why?
why they did
member of
not
IEBC.
apply,
Yeah.
not excusing them for not applying. There's a difference.
Latiff, the only way we can break this pattern is by interrogating what we're saying, which is the system. See, they know they're qualified.
That's what I'm pushing back and saying you guys are not interrogating. You guys are passing an excuse.
No, it's not an
No.
excuse.
You guys
The,
are
system,
solid-
the systemic
An
barriers are not an excuse.
They
They're real.
Show me the barrier. Show me the barrier. Why? Are you saying that we didn't have more than 237 women who qualify for
No, of course
commissioner
they
of
have.
IEBC?
They are.
Exactly.
Yes.
So why did they apply?
Systemic barriers.
What are those? That they didn't have paper?
No, no,
That they
no.
could access
I-
internet?
I think
Absolutely not.
no. I think first of all we're seeing a rise. Where we've come from since Beijing,
At least.
we've seen. No, it's true.
Not-
It's important to recognize that a Chief Justice who's a woman today.
Of course.
The journey started there.
Yes.
People like Martha Karua and Millie Odhiambo have continued
And
to
Charity
show.
Ngilu in 1997 being a
Have
presidential
continued to
queen.
show
Yes.
that, and Martha talks about it all the time. By the way, the good thing is she validates. She says, let me tell you the truth, it is the trenches. The trenches I've come from. And she'll talk about how the community she had around her supported that decision, but also the different barriers. Now, I remember a lot of people have used a certain word, which I don't know where this fits into everything, but the word I hear a lot is courage. I think people like Ellen Sirleaf and Martha Karua and all these people say, what is missing? There's a fear factor that we need to unlock, right? Again, it's not to invalidate a woman saying, but I've seen the constant harassment and name calling. I've seen the online violence. I don't know that I want to do that. And so they keep saying it's courage. You need courage. So now how do we begin to inculcate a culture that creates a supportive community and says to these women, unlock the fears that you have. What exactly is holding you back? Is it work-life balance? Okay. Do you have a community that can perhaps be there if your kids need to be picked? Because that, by the way, it comes down to that. Number 2, is your husband okay with it? He's not. Okay, can we have a conversation with him and see? And your in-laws, they're feeling like it's going to affect your ability to show up as a wife and mom. How do we unlock that? Your friends are judging you because they're feeling like you're going to feel more special than them. How do we unlock those fears? That's also what I'm calling barriers. It's not just a big word. It's the things that exist in our real everyday life that we're very scared of compromising for fear of. So it's the fear. And like I said, I've heard a lot of these women leaders saying, the biggest thing I want to give to women is courage. I know that it is fear that is holding you guys back.
There you go.
Yeah, but
That's
Mariam, you're going to say
exactly
something.
what I've been saying for
Mariam,
the last,
I interrupted
50,
you.
50
Okay.
minutes or
Because
so I've been
you've-
saying it's fear.
But
And
there's a
fear
valid
is
reason
an
why.
excuse.
No.
And we need to
No.
we need to look at how we deal with our
My
fear.
miss me with
The-
that will be counter miss
The
me with
fear
that.
of heights is an excuse.
No,
It's not. It's a fear
that's
of
an
heights.
invalidation. This is why we
Those are the
invalidate
buzzwords
things.
that I use.
No,
It's a
Those are
fear
the
of
buzzwords
heights.
that I
A fear
used.
of heights, Eric, is a fear of heights.
Buzzwords.
no.
If I wanted an excuse to not climb the ladder, I would say I'm not wearing the right shoes.
Oh, I
if I'm
like
scared
that.
of climbing the ladder, I'm just scared of climbing the ladder. I'm
And
scared of
that's
heights.
and there's
That's
nothing,
it.
and it's not that there's something wrong with it, and it's not to say your fear doesn't make sense.
Yes, and that's a minority.
Let's understand.
No.
Many of the reasons
Let's
I've been given
understand.
here
Eric,
today
let's
is you
understand
see,
why-
we don't have the shoes
why
to
these
climb.
women aren't
We know we are
applying.
wearing
Why
a
these
dress.
women aren't applying? The
Let's
why?
understand why they're not applying. Because for Latifah, what is important is for her to see representation. That's at the end of the day,
Yes.
she needs to see people do everything, whether it is diving, free diving, climbing a motorbike, going to the moon, coming on TV, talking, becoming an influencer, across the board. Figure out, how do we get those women? What's keeping them from applying for those things? Fix from there.
And also, and
What
not
are your
pushing, and not
proposals?
saying to them,
Okay.
your fear is unwarranted. No, actually speak to me from a point of, I'm actually scared. It's not
Yes.
an excuse, but we don't do that. We don't do that, especially I think in this country, maybe it's a country I've lived in, it's the one I know, we have a habit of not recognizing what somebody's truth is. We hear it as an excuse rather than an explanation. Explain to me. The same way, I will go back to this person who said, why are you guys struggling to come back to work after maternity? Why are you guys even struggling to? He listened to them and he did a study and he interrogated it and then he said, okay,
Let's
so to
work
meet you
around
halfway,
it. Yeah.
because I realize as a woman, you're not a monolith. There's so many things that I have to factor if we're going by traditional societal roles.
Right.
I have to factor those to make you come as the best version of yourself. Otherwise, I will genuinely be scared because I don't know what's going to fall behind.
Right.
And then how will I catch up to the child that I quote unquote neglected
For those many years.
for those many years?
My simple
But we
fix,
can't
Eric,
say
of
fear.
course. Right.
Fear is an excuse. No,
It's
no.
not.
When we start to say that, then it takes a woman listening right now is just like, the fear I had, well, I guess it's just in my head. Honey, it's not in your head. It's real. We need to figure out why you're scared. And then we need to figure out how to meet you halfway so that next time when we say you need to apply,
We've been
you
needing
apply
to
with
figure
15
out.
of your
Janet,
friends.
Janet, we've got to stop with this excuse of we shall do something. Tutatenga,
But we're already doing it by
No.
saying fear
What
is
the
not an
fix?
excuse.
What is the fix?
Validating.
How do we make sure that in the next, when Martha Koome retires as Chief Justice, that we are going to have at least 50%
least.
of the applicants being women?
Mine, genuinely, I'm
Okay.
speaking as Mariam.
I just said Mariam.
Siasa chafu tuache. I'll be honest, if I thought I was perfectly capable of being the IEBC commissioner, the thing that would keep me from applying is I don't want to get into that mess. Genuinely, that's not for me. And usiseme IEBC
You
si
and many
siasa.
men.
Si siasa.
Yeah.
No, but
Yeah.
siasa
yeah.
chafu.
Siasa chafu.
Siasa chafu.
Yeah, it's
That's-
very many people.
It's a murky system,
Yes,
and you want to go
true.
into a system with the best of your intentions, but it's a system that's rigged from the onset, and it's dirty, and it's wild, and it's going to traumatize me. How do we fix it? We fix it by interrogating the why and not invalidating the why.
So what is your solution here? That
My-
you want us to
Amekwambia.
form a task force now.
Not a task.
And do these things.
I want us to create safe spaces, Latiff.
This has been the talk and the buzzword in those
For
circles
me, okay,
for
we
a long
can.
time.
Mariam
That
and I
ends up-
should speak to what broke through our fears.
Right.
Because what I do on my platform a lot individually is I talk about things like that. I talk about saying, of course I was scared. What did I do? I did A, B, C, D. And I appreciate that a lot of people say, okay, cool, that makes sense to me.
Right.
Mariam's lived reality is in itself already a success story. She can speak to, I did A, B, C, D.
I had
So
someone in my ear telling me constantly, just go do it, just go do it. Don't think about people. That's my mom in my ear constantly.
Yes.
And other
So now
people, what
we are that person.
we're that
in
person
someone's ear.
against a whole wave of women who are being told,
Yeah.
you can't do it. What do you mean? What happens to your family? That's the majority. So it's about speaking to people's lived reality.
I am not sure I want to agree with that being the majority. KCSE, as we conclude.
Okay.
All right? In 2022, 416 candidates participated. 50.33% male, 49.67% female. All right? It just shows our numbers. Again, 2023, we had 448,899 female out of 899,000 candidates. Last year in the KCSE, we had 962,000 candidates participating. And in that exam, the girls outnumbered the boys in the exam. We had 482,000 girls and 480,000 boys. Our society has broken that barrier of educating the girl child and empowering the girl child. He has brought the girl child to school. They are going all the way into whatever platforms. We still have those STEM where like engineering still has fewer women,
Right.
but some like law, which is my peeve today. This is the law.
Have more women than
Have, yeah.
women,
Mike
men.
Kwa ground coming soon. Utuambie, what is holding you back?
Tumesema, we agreed.
I am calling
Education
out.
barrier with
I'm calling out on those who have risen to that level. Those who have participated in conversations like Janet Bogwa of empowering women and saying that next time an opportunity comes up,
Apply.
apply. You are serving a lesson and an example to those below you. You are showing it. Next time, Janet, you're approached and told, join my board, join the board. All right?
Which I did.
Join many boards. Let's see more of you in these places. Let's see more of you applying.
Yeah.
That serves a lesson of starting to break.
And let's have the world send a message beyond the appointees. Even though you have slots, the world still sends another message to women. We have Your World coming soon, but I'm told we can't speak to Wikali and Winnie. Oh, there they are. What are they speaking about today?
We can't hear them.
We can't hear
but
them.
They're just having fun and hugging and,
right.
you know, girls just want to have fun.
Girls just want to have fun. So that will be happening in just a few moments. We'll be crossing over to Your World. But thank you so much for staying with Fixing the Nation with me, Janet Bogwa, Mariam Bishar, Eric Latiff.
Breakfast is on Eric. He knows why.
Yes.
I can't wait. Thank you so much. We'll see you back here tomorrow, 6 a.m. But you can catch all the other snippets of our conversations online throughout the day. See you tomorrow.